The tournament had come. It was the one event every species in the galaxy lived for, where the strongest, the most skilled, and the most ruthless fought for ultimate supremacy. The challenge was set: face a series of death matches across various planets, proving their dominance by annihilating all others. It was a battle for power, for glory, and for the right to rule. But when Earth entered the arena, the galaxy recoiled. Humanity wasn't just another contender, it was a force of nature. No one knew exactly when it happened, when the shift occurred. The moment they realized that no species, no matter how advanced or brutal, could hold a candle to humanity's resilience, cunning, and sheer will. But that moment had come. The galactic tournament wasn't built to accommodate such a species that refused to bend to the rules. And so, Earth was denied entry, not because they were weak, but because they were too strong. The very idea that humans could compete was an affront to the tournament's structure. The other species feared they would lose to humanity's unyielding spirit. But that didn't stop humanity. "We can't just let them shut us out," Captain Jonathan Calloway, the leader of Earth's military coalition, said, his voice low but filled with a simmering intensity. He stood at the center of the war room, the holographic projections of the galaxy swirling around him. "We're being told we're too powerful to compete. But that means we're a threat, and threats are eliminated." General Lin, standing beside him, nodded gravely. Her face, calm but with an undercurrent of tension, betrayed nothing. "So what do we do, Jonathan?" she asked. "Sit back and wait for them to come to us? Wait for them to try and erase us?" Calloway's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenching. "No. We do what humanity does best. We make them an offer they can't refuse." A murmur rippled through the room. Everyone knew what he meant. Humanity would enter the tournament, not as competitors, but as the prize. "Prize?" Lin repeated, her eyebrows arching in disbelief. "You want us to be the prize in their little game?" "Exactly," Calloway replied. "We'll be their greatest prize. They won't be able to resist. They'll fight for us, kill for us, because we've become the symbol of everything they crave, the strongest, the most valuable. And in the process, we'll get to see who among them is truly worthy of facing humanity." The room fell into a tense silence. It was audacious, reckless even, but it was undeniably human. The concept of a prize in the tournament wasn't new. Each species had offered something, from rare resources to technology. But humanity would offer something different. There would be the ultimate test. The culmination of the galaxy's challenges. But it wasn't just about winning. It was about sending a message. We are not afraid. The announcement rippled across the galaxy. The tournament was shifting, evolving, as Earth's offer spread like wildfire. The strongest, the most influential species, from the warlords of the Herix to the cold and calculating Arthrax, all took notice. But it wasn't their fear that Calloway saw, it was their desire. They wanted Earth. And that desire would set the galaxy ablaze. Aboard the flagship Tyrant's Wrath, the ruthless warlord Zalax examined the broadcast with a sharp, predatory gleam in his eyes. He was known throughout the galaxy as a conqueror, a being who had built his empire on the bones of hundreds of worlds. Yet when the humans had been barred from entering the tournament, it only made Zalax more curious. He'd watched the broadcast of Earth's offer, studied it. Humanity had offered themselves up as the ultimate prize, and it intrigued him. How far would they go to prove their worth? How far could they be pushed? And so, he made his decision. His fleet would enter the tournament and claim Earth. He would dominate the prize and, by extension, the entire galaxy. "Prepare my fleet," Zalax commanded, his voice a low growl. "We leave for Earth." As the tournament began, the first wave of battles unfolded across the stars. Warlords, mercenaries, and bounty hunters from all corners of the galaxy gathered, eager to claim the prize. Yet, for every victory, Earth's presence loomed larger. Humanity's greatest minds, soldiers, and tacticians watched from afar, analyzing every move, studying their opponents like chess pieces. In one particular combat zone, A brutal match raged between the Crother, a brutal insected species, and a group of elite human commandos. The Crother, known for their ruthless efficiency and primal strength, charged forward, their massive forms almost impossible to stop. But the humans weren't fazed. In an arena built for destruction, they fought with precision, with a cold, calculated ferocity. They didn't just fight to win, they fought to show the universe that humanity was more than just a species. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Crother fell one by one, their bodies twisted and broken under the weight of human determination. The remaining Crother warriors, realizing they were outmatched, began to retreat. But the human commander, a grizzled veteran by the name of Sarah Kincaid, stepped forward. "No," she said coldly. "We don't let them retreat. Not while they're still breathing." With a final, commanding gesture, the remaining Crother were wiped out. It was brutal, efficient, and terrifying. The arena went silent. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she looked up at the Galactic Council's observers, seated high above the battlefield. "We're not just the prize," she said, her voice carrying over the calms. "We're here to show you what humanity is capable of." Back in the war room, Kellaway watched the broadcast with quiet satisfaction. "They're taking the bait," he muttered to Lynn, who stood beside him, arms folded. "But it's only a matter of time before they realize what we're doing." "Do you think they'll come for us?" she asked, her voice filled with both excitement and dread. "They'll come. And when they do," Calloway's voice grew low, "we'll be waiting." The tyrant's wrath was on its way, but it wasn't just about the tournament anymore. This was about something much bigger, something the galaxy had underestimated. Humanity wasn't just going to be the prize. Humanity was going to win. The tournament had begun, and the stakes had never been higher. And for humanity, victory would be the greatest prize of all. The tyrant's wrath loomed in the darkness of space, a massive warship that seemed to drink in the light from the surrounding stars. Warlord Zalax stood at the bridge, his 6 eyes gleaming with cold calculation as he watched the galaxy unfold before him. The announcement that humanity had offered itself as the ultimate prize had sparked an unexpected fire within him, a fire not of fear, but of opportunity. He had fought for power, conquered worlds, and crushed entire civilizations, but the thought of claiming Earth as his own felt different. A challenge, yes, but also a means to prove something, both to his enemies and to himself. "We are entering the tournament's final phase, Lord Zalax," one of his commanders, a reptilian strategist named Vothar, said, his voice like a dry hiss. "Our fleet is now on Earth's doorstep. All we need to do is claim the prize. Humanity will fall like every other species before it." Zalax didn't respond immediately. His mind was elsewhere, deep in thought, calculating the next steps in this deadly game. "No, Vothar. This is more than just a contest for Earth. This is about legacy. The humans, they've stirred something in me." He turned toward his second-in-command, his voice dropping into a growl. "They will be the ultimate test. We will crush their spirit before we claim them. If they think they can play the game, then let them play. But they must know who the true rulers of the galaxy are." Vothar bowed his head in acknowledgement, but his unease was palpable. There was something in Zalax's tone that didn't sit right with him. He had never seen the warlord so consumed by this pursuit. As the tyrant's wrath approached Earth's atmosphere, Zalax began to prepare his strategy. "Deploy the ground forces," he commanded. "Take the humans at their strongest. Destroy them before they can react." On Earth, humanity's military preparations were in full swing. The prize, the ultimate challenge, had drawn nearly every warlord, mercenary, and army into the galaxy's deadliest game. Yet, beneath the veneer of victory, a tension hung in the air. The Sunspire Academy and its elite combat teams were preparing for the unthinkable. Humanity might have become the prize, but it wasn't going to roll over. "We've been pushed into a corner," Captain Jonathan Calloway said, pacing the war room as maps of the battlefield flickered across the room. "But this is what we do best, fight when everything is stacked against us. We won't give them the satisfaction of thinking we're the prey." Sarah Kincaid, the hardened commander from the earlier battle, stood at attention, her eyes sharp as steel. We've won every skirmish so far. The Crother didn't stand a chance. But Zalax is different. He's not just another brute. He's a warlord with ambition, and he's not going to play fair. Exactly, Calloway replied, his eyes flashing with determination. And that's where we have the edge. While they're focused on the tournament, we're focused on survival. You think we can turn the tide against him? Lynn asked, her arms crossed tightly, a hint of doubt in her voice. We don't just survive, General, Calloway said with a half-smile. We win. Humanity's best weapon isn't its technology or its strength, it's our adaptability. Our creativity. Our ability to surprise. This tournament, they've underestimated us. Now, it's time to make them regret that. The battle began in earnest. Zalax's forces hit Earth's defenses hard, sending waves of his elite soldiers, massive, hulking warriors trained in the art of killing with ruthless efficiency, charging across battlefields already scarred by years of war. But humanity's response was swift. The Sunspire's commandos were deployed first, their mission clear: hold the line and push back the invaders at any cost. The humans were still the underdogs, but that only made them more dangerous. The ground was a war zone as humanity fought to reclaim their land. Blazing weapons fire lit up the night sky, the sounds of battle echoing through every canyon and city. But there was something different about this battle. There was no fear in the eyes of the soldiers, not even in the face of such overwhelming power. We've trained for this, shouted Sarah Kincaid as she gunned down another wave of Zalax's forces. We've bled for this. We will make them pay. She and her team held their ground at the outskirts of what remained of the Eastern Front. Despite their losses, despite the odds, humanity had something the alien forces couldn't anticipate: a sheer, unrelenting will to fight, an unspoken promise that they would never give up. As the alien forces continued their onslaught, Sarah's unit found themselves face to face with one of Zalax's lieutenants, a towering beast of muscle and armor. It charged at them with a roar that shook the earth. The human soldiers scattered, weapons blazing, but the alien was relentless. We can't stop it like this, one of her soldiers screamed, barely dodging a blow. Sarah's eyes flashed with fury, her fingers pulling the trigger again and again. But it wasn't enough. It was only when she called for backup, pulling in the full force of the Sunspire's airstrikes, that the alien fell. The battle was shifting. Earth wasn't just standing its ground, it was making Zalax's forces pay dearly. The enemy's strategy was falling apart. The more they tried to crush humanity's spirit, the more they were drawn into the trap humanity had set for them. Earth wasn't just fighting for survival anymore, they were fighting to prove something to the galaxy. Back aboard the Tyrant's Wrath, Zalax watched the battle unfold on his screens. His lip curled in a sneer as he saw his forces begin to falter. This wasn't part of the plan. What's happening? Zalax barked, fury rising. How are they holding us off? Vothar stood by, uneasy. Their tactics are unconventional. They're adapting faster than we anticipated. The humans, they are more than we thought. More than we thought? Zalax's voice turned cold with menace. Then we will crush them like the insects they are. But even as Zalax issued orders to increase the attack, he knew this war was far from over. Humanity was not a species to be underestimated, not a prize to be claimed easily. And in the back of his mind, Zalax wondered, had humanity already turned the tables? Were they playing the tournament in a way no one had expected? As the battle raged on, the tournament's true nature began to unfold. Humanity wasn't just the prize, they had become the game itself. And in that game, no one could predict who would win. The battle had raged for days, and the atmosphere on Earth was thick with desperation, but also defiance. Humanity had made its mark, not just as a prize to be claimed, but as a force capable of tearing through the galaxy's deadliest challenges. The alien forces had underestimated them time and time again, and now they were paying the price. But even in the face of this success, Captain Jonathan Calloway knew the war was far from over. Zalax wasn't a typical foe, he was a warlord with limitless ambition, and his pride would be his greatest weapon. The tyrant's wrath had retreated momentarily to regroup, its fleet battered but far from broken. Zalax stood in the center of his flagship's bridge, watching the Earth's defenses falter on his hollow screen. His fists clenched in frustration. They think they've won. But they haven't seen what I can do. His voice was low, almost whispering to himself. I will show them what it means to challenge a warlord like me. Zalax's eyes glinted with fury, and his commanders moved swiftly to adjust his strategy. His fleet would take Earth's capital city by force. This time, there would be no subtlety, no games. It would be total domination. Back on Earth, Captain Calloway was preparing for what might be their final stand. The Earth's capital, once a gleaming beacon of humanity's power and progress, was now surrounded by the remnants of battle. The landscape was scarred with craters, and the sky shimmered with the aftershocks of the intergalactic war. We're outgunned, General Lin stated, standing beside Calloway in the command center. Her face was weary but unwavering. Zalax is pulling out everything he's got. If we don't break his forces now, Earth will fall. Calloway stared at the map of their defenses, a flicker of determination in his eyes. We've been pushed to the edge before, and we've always fought our way back. We'll do it again. Any plan in mind? Lin asked, her voice clipped. Calloway nodded, his fingers moving over the table's holographic controls, outlining the last push that would change everything. We'll use their arrogance against them. Zalax thinks he's untouchable. He's too focused on Earth as a prize. What he doesn't realize is that we've already won the first round. We've shown him what humanity is made of. I'm listening, Lin said, her eyes sharp as she locked on to Calloway's every word. Calloway's voice dropped, his tone calculating. We'll bait him. Let him think he has the upper hand, draw him into the heart of the city. Then, once he's committed, we strike. We have the technology to neutralize his fleet's advantage. We take them out in one fell swoop. Zalax, meanwhile, was growing impatient. His fleet had positioned itself to strike. His troops, fresh from their devastating assault, awaited his orders. The warlord stood at the helm of his ship, watching the final assault take shape. Prepare for the final push, he growled. This time we end it. But as his fleet closed in on the Earth's capital, Zalax noticed something strange. The human defenses weren't retreating. In fact, they were becoming more aggressive, almost too coordinated. A warning flashed across his console. Something's wrong, one of his officers said nervously. They're not pulling back. They're preparing to fight, Zalax's eyes widened. What? It was too late. The humans had set their trap. With a sudden surge of speed, the Sunspire, the pride of humanity's fleet, launched from its hiding position. The humans had turned their most advanced warship into a weapon of devastating precision. As the tyrant's wrath and its fleet continued their approach, Calloway's forces activated the EMP devices embedded in Earth's last line of defense, massive ion cannons that had remained hidden in the city for years, awaiting this very moment. Now, Calloway barked as the ion blasts erupted, creating a pulse that sent shockwaves through the entire enemy fleet. Zalax's warships shuddered, their weapons systems flickering and failing. The ground forces he had sent to Earth's surface were decimated by tactical strikes launched from hidden human bases. The fight was on. What started as a hunt for Earth had quickly turned into the ultimate humiliation for Zalax. Retreat! Zalax howled, his voice thick with rage. We've been tricked! Fall back, But the damage was done. The fleet had been crippled. Earth's forces, led by Calloway and his elite commandos, launched their final assault on Zalax's ground forces, pushing them back with the strength of a cornered beast. Back in the heart of the capital, Sarah Kincaid stood at the front of the human resistance, watching the alien forces break apart. She could hear the sounds of victory, the cries of her soldiers, the whine of their advanced weaponry, and the unmistakable roar of victory. We did it, Sarah muttered under her breath. She looked out at the battlefield and saw the remnants of Zalax's army retreating, the last of them scattering into the dust of Earth's once pristine streets. Humanity had fought back, and won. But it wasn't just a victory on Earth. It was a statement to the galaxy, a statement that humanity wasn't just a prize to be won. They were warriors, survivors, and a force that could not be defeated. Zalax was defeated. His retreat, a humiliating reminder of humanity's resilience, echoed across the stars. Earth had not just proven its worth in the tournament, it had rewritten the rules. No longer would humanity be underestimated. The galaxy would remember this day for centuries. As Calloway watched the final retreat of Zalax's forces, he allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. Humanity had taken a bold step into the unknown, and in doing so, had reshaped the very nature of the tournament. "We've proven them wrong," Calloway said softly, turning to General Lin. "Humanity is no prize. We are the ones who decide the fate of this galaxy." Lin nodded, her face a mixture of exhaustion and pride. "And this is just the beginning." As the tyrant's wrath limped back into the void, defeated and broken, Calloway turned to face the horizon. Earth was safe. But humanity's true battle had only just begun. And now, they would never be forgotten.